Who are some of the most heartless criminals out there? Let's find out, starting with number 5. She's really sorry. Here's an update on Daniela Rendon. The Miami real estate agent was busted for snagging more than $380,000 in COVID relief loans. She's someone we've covered before here. Rendon got hit with a 3.5-year prison sentence after copping to a guilty plea on one count of wire fraud, and she was staring down multiple charges: wire fraud, money laundering, aggravated identity theft. Rendon, originally from Colombia, flat out owned up to her actions, blaming her insatiable greed for leading her astray. Rendon had leased a 2021 Bentley Bentayga, rented a luxury apartment, splurged on cosmetic procedures, and collected designer shoes. And she wasn't shy about showing off her new status on social media. For her trial, Rendon brought a 30-page remorse thesis where she expressed how sorry she was for her choices. She admitted she used to think her victims were just faceless government entities, but she realized that wasn't the case. The judge took a look at her remorse thesis and, in the end, he opted for the minimum sentence of 3.5 years, cutting her some slack and sparing her an extra year behind bars. The assistant U.S. attorney was on board with this, recommending the same sentence. On the flip side, her defense attorney was hoping for 5 years of probation, an even more lenient move. The judge made it clear that Rendon's crimes weren't just some victimless escapade and drove home the point that her case is like a textbook example of how these scams mess with funds meant for those who genuinely need them. Whatever else Rendon said in her thesis, there were 30 pages, and it certainly had an impact on the judge. And while it's good if it was sincere, the most sorry people in the world are the ones who got caught, which leads to the question: do you think she was sincere, or was it a ploy to manipulate the judge? Let us know in the comments below. Number 4. The photo finish. Neely and Andrew Moldovan found themselves entangled in a lawsuit for online defamation and its impact on a local photographer's livelihood. The story kicked off with the hiring of Andrea Polito's photography services for their wedding and reception. Neely Moldovan asked about getting the high-resolution photos taken on their special day. According to their contract, the images would be released once the album was fully crafted, a process involving an order form submission and cover photo selection. But the couple balked at the $125 fee for the cover photo and grew increasingly frustrated with the photo delivery's delay. Things got a little more intense when the Moldovans reached out to local TV stations, saying that Pablito was essentially holding their wedding photos hostage. The claim quickly snowballed, grabbing media attention and inciting a storm of social media outrage against Pablito's photography business. The couple took to various online platforms to vent their frustration, dropping allegations of deception and scamming against Pablito. This cyber onslaught, combined with the televised news coverage, dealt a severe blow to Pablito's business, causing bookings to plummet dramatically. The heart of the lawsuit revolved around the repercussions these actions had on Pablito's reputation and livelihood. Pablito said that the allegations swiftly dismantled her then 13-year-old business, and she openly shared the emotional toll the entire ordeal exacted. She recounted feeling humiliated by the torrent of name-calling and bullying that followed the accusations. The Moldovans defend themselves by claiming their right to express disappointment with the photography service and share their opinions online. They also claimed that they had become targets of impersonators who use fake profiles to amplify negative reviews, trashing their reputation. The jury's ultimate ruling was to award Andrea Polito $1.08 million in damages. This verdict threw the spotlight on the issue of online defamation and its tangible, real-world consequences. The case underscored that while freedom of speech is a cornerstone of American life, expressing disappointment through digital channels can result in heavy penalties, especially when it strays into the territory of defamation. The Moldovans voiced their shock and disappointment at the jury's verdict. They insisted that the ruling could inadvertently silence consumers, making them feel afraid of voicing dissatisfaction due to the threat of being sued. They clarified that their intention was never to harm Pablito's business, but simply to express their honest opinion of the services they received. The Moldovans still have the option to appeal, keeping the story open-ended with potential future twists. So at what point does simply expressing expressing an opinion become defamation? Are those giving opinions responsible for the actions of those reacting to the opinions? Let us know in the comments below. Number 3. Filing frauds. An ambulance-chasing lawyer named Stuart Finkelstein filed over 300 bogus lawsuits under the Americans with Disabilities Act in both New York and Florida and got himself 4 years in jail for it. Finkelstein targeted a bunch of public businesses where he cooked up tons of phony lawsuits about ADA violations, all in a bid to score settlements and grab a piece of the attorney's fees pie. He played the part of a representative for plaintiffs whose identities he'd stolen and who had no idea that he was representing them in lawsuits they didn't know they were a part of. One guy in the Bronx found out randomly that he was part of over 25 different ADA lawsuits that had been filed in his name, yet he was totally in the dark about them. Finkelstein managed to milk those lawsuits too, raking in a whopping $900,000 in attorney's fees. The businesses that were targeted all had to dig deep into their pockets for settlements and legal fees, leaving bills that ended up costing over $1.5 million. Finkelstein was eventually arrested and charged with mail fraud, identity theft, and obstruction of justice. And this wasn't the first time Finkelstein had been accused of being a shady lawyer. He was disbarred in New York 10 years before all of this happened. He'd only been reinstated for 5 years before he decided to scam again. Finkelstein eventually pleaded guilty to 1 count of mail fraud, and since the reinstatement was still fairly recent, the judge dropped the hammer, sentencing him to 4 years behind bars. He was also hit with over $800,000 in fines and forfeitures and 3 years of post-release supervision. The ridiculous thing is that all of his lawsuits with stolen identities probably didn't even need to happen. There's plenty of scandalous people who would have gladly lent their names to his fraud for a cut of the money, but instead he was greedy, and greed gets you caught. Number 2. The massage. Gareth Ward, a lawmaker from Australia, landed himself in quite a pickle during a visit to the Big Apple. Ward, who's legally blind due to a form of albinism, was staying at the Intercontinental Hotel in Times Square when things took a wild turn. Ward decided he wanted a massage, got a number from a buddy, and had 2 therapists sent to his hotel room. The 2 massage therapists show up, but the so-called therapists were not what they seemed to be. These 2 shady masseuses strolled into his room, and then the whole situation flipped. As Ward started to get undressed for his massage, the 2 told him they were underage and started recording videos on their phones, then hit him with a demand for $1,000. If he didn't pay up, they said they'd post the videos all over social media. Ward, who is blind, was worried he was going to get mugged or beaten. He didn't have any cash, so he told them he would go down to the hotel lobby to grab the cash from an ATM. But he actually headed to the front desk to seek some backup. The hotel clerk got on the phone with the cops, and the would-be extortionists made a run for it before the police showed up. Later, Ward opened up about the whole thing in an interview with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. He explained that he wanted a completely normal massage and was in the middle of undressing when the whole extortion thing started. Were these massage therapists aware of Ward's blindness and his gig in the Aussie Parliament? It's possible, since he's a public figure, but it's also possible that he was set up by his friend. Be sure to stay tuned right on this video for our past release to find out how this heartless scammer was caught living at his parents' house. Number 1. Medallion Manipulation. Evgeny Friedman, a man who was known as the Taxi King of New York, had a life that played out like a Hollywood screenplay. Friedman, a Russian immigrant who was the son of a cab driver, takes on the concrete jungle and crafts an empire of taxicabs. Friedman bought hundreds of those official yellow cab permits known as medallions and, at his height, had over $525 million in assets. But his life wasn't just taxis. This guy lived lavishly. Luxury cars and mingling with the who's who, celebrities, politicians, you name it. Friedman had a 4,000 square foot townhouse on the Upper East Side, homes in the Hamptons and Chicago, and 2 villas in France. So you could say he was doing well for himself. But this taxi king wasn't just sitting back enjoying his success. He was like a puppet master, pulling the strings of the city's taxi market. He once pulled a slick move and intentionally overpaid for 54 medallions in a government auction. This drove up the value of the medallions he already had, like throwing a rock in a pond and watching the ripples go wild. Medallion prices shot through the roof, hitting a staggering $1.3 million each by 2014. And Fortunately, unsuspected cab drivers, many of them immigrants chasing the American dream, got caught in this bubble. They took out big loans and bought these medallions at insane prices, thinking they made a smart investment. But spoiler alert, the bubble burst. Cue the rise of Uber and Lyft. These ride-sharing giants shook up the whole taxi game, causing medallion prices to nosedive, crashing by up to 80%. And who was left holding the bag? The drivers, who sank everything into those medallions. Some faced financial ruin, others even took their own lives due to the pressure. As the taxi world crumbled, Friedman was revealed to be this mastermind who stashed his wealth offshore, away from the chaos he played a part in order to dodge paying taxes. As it turns out, the IRS takes those kinds of things personally, and Friedman was charged with tax fraud. Friedman eventually found himself in an Albany courtroom, facing the music on charges of tax fraud. He wasn't the same opulent guy as before, and he expressed regret owning up to the mess he helped create. To dodge prison time, he cooperated with the authorities, throwing his former partner, Michael Cohen, you might have heard of him, Trump's ex-lawyer, under the bus. Smart move, maybe. It kept him out of the slammer, but he still got to cough up millions in back taxes. It's ironic how the taxi king ended up getting in trouble for tax evasion. Okay, we'll go now. Gurvind Singh seemed to be living the high life, posting images of his high-end jewelry and fancy cars to support his claim that he made millions on the foreign exchange market. He promised that other people could follow his advice to become wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. In reality, Singh, or Gurvs, as he called himself on Instagram, was selling nothing more than a pipe dream that cost many investors money they couldn't afford to lose. All these promises are red flags even a new investor should recognize. According to an in-depth investigation by journalist Mobi Nazar, Gurvin used his social media accounts to sell the false hope of guaranteed financial windfalls for anyone who invested their money into his scheme. Although Singh apparently raked in about £3 million, the evidence shows it was through scamming naive people out of their savings rather than finding a profitable investment strategy. To convince social media users that he was the real deal, he made impossible promises that even the most experienced money managers wouldn't touch. Specifically, Singh promised his investors that they'd never lose any money. While most people disregarded his call to action, this 20-year-old scammer reportedly convinced roughly 1,200 individuals to send their cash. A few made it through the experience, only losing a few £100s. Others handed over as much as £88,000 that they never saw again. Singh's ego-boosting posts portrayed a young man with an undeniable knack for making a buck. At one point, he claimed his savvy investing skills turned £200 into a whopping £100,000. The huge return on such a small initial investment was clearly enticing to others who wanted a piece of the action. He took the grift further by suggesting that investors could expect to make £300 per day if they followed his lead and trusted him with their cash. He deleted old social media accounts and started new ones before settling on the handle @Mr.Gurvs. Still, his content remained centered on the same false promises and fabricated evidence of his personal wealth. One of his most popular posts depicted him handing out money to random strangers as if he had so much that he didn't know what else to do with it all. Singh presented himself as a reputable trader in the foreign exchange or Forex market. In reality, watchdog organizations and regulators kept a close eye on his claims and ultimately warned the public that he was not properly licensed to make the type of investments he peddled online. Forex trading is a broad term that can refer to any transaction that exchanges one international currency for another. While reputable investors can make a healthy profit, the global financial system is full of fraud. One attorney specializing in such scams said that her law firm has taken up thousands of cases in which victims said they were conned out of their savings by a Forex fraudster. It's bad enough that Singh conned so many people, but the fact that investors lost all their money money on Christmas Eve added insult to injury. One of those individuals, identified only as Jonathan, shared a story that was similar to many others who fell for the investment scheme. He was 24 years old at the time and saving money to buy a home. Most of the people who found Singh through Instagram were also in their early 20s. Although Jonathan said he frequently scrolled through social media to find funny posts and memes, sometimes an investment influencer would catch his eye. After he spotted the viral video showing Singh handing money to folks on the street, he became intrigued with the idea of investing in the system. Jonathan sent Singh a message, and the reply indicated that a £500 initial deposit would be required to move forward. It was a no-brainer for Jonathan, who was clearly impressed by the luxury cars and expensive tastes displayed on Singh's Instagram account. The first step involved joining a group message to learn more about the process. After being told he'd earn £100 right off the bat, Jonathan decided to sink more of his £17,000 savings into the scheme. Days later, Singh said the initial investment had nearly doubled and was worth £30,000. Jonathan knew the inherent risks associated with trading and investing. Ironically, he said it was rare to lose an entire investment. After learning all of his profits had been wiped out in December 2020, he realized how wrong he was. He remembers the losses coming quickly as £27,000 turned to £9,000 on Christmas Eve. Jonathan watched helplessly as more and more of his money evaporated into thin air. He said he assumed that the millionaire investor was working within the confines of British regulators at the Financial Conduct Authority, but he was wrong. In fact, the agency issued a strongly worded advisory confirming that Singh was not affiliated with the FCA and urging prospective investors to think twice before giving him any money. Making matters worse, Singh and others involved in the scheme went back on their earlier promise that Jonathan would be able to take his money out whenever he wished. While he was obviously distraught over the whole situation, he said that others lost substantially more, including some investors who were scammed out of their entire life savings and found out about it the day before Christmas. Singh's scheme attracted significant attention outside of the social media realm. Veteran journalist Mobi Nazar was among the most prominent sources of information and compiled all of his evidence to create a compelling documentary titled Scam City, Money, Mayhem, and Maseratis. After his marks lost millions, Singh appeared eager to put the whole ordeal behind him. In fact, he launched yet another scheme online to target young people interested in investing. As media reports noted, his Instagram profile was scrubbed of any references to his prior Forex trading rhetoric, and in its place was promotional material about a new business called Academy to Earn. This venture, he claimed, consisted of an internet-based educational program designed to share the fundamentals of online marketing and sales. While Singh might have pivoted away from his prior strategy, Azar wasn't prepared to let him get away scot-free. Instead, the investigative reporter hunted for clues and interviewed a long line of people who claimed they were swindled out of their savings by a smooth-talking social media user. This 4-part documentary aired on BBC Two and received plenty of critical acclaim. However, it was just the latest in a series of scandals and controversies he'd attempted to expose by digging deep into the relevant facts. His impressive portfolio includes reports on topics including U.S. drone strikes in the Middle East, the life of LGBTQ individuals in Pakistan, and an award-winning expose about a police-related incident in the United Kingdom. Azar also completed a labor-intensive book containing various details from the life of the late singer-songwriter Prince. After interviewing fraud experts and the apparent victims of the investment scheme, Azar tried to get some information from the source, found out where Singh was living, though it didn't reflect the lavish life he'd been selling on Instagram. Instead, the journalist found him living with his parents in London. They were all sharing an ordinary house. There were no signs of the wealth Singh allegedly amassed through his expert knowledge of the foreign exchange market. When Azar confronted him outside of the home, it became clear that Singh wasn't ready to go on the record. Instead of responding to the reporter's questions, the accused scammer hid in a nearby store. A few moments later, Singh made his escape. He hustled down the street with his girlfriend while Azar was hot on his tail. Then the tight-lipped scammer hopped in his car and drove off, leaving Azar with more questions than answers. As Singh received increased scrutiny from the media, he decided to publicly address the allegations against him. Unsurprisingly, he blamed others for the fact that his scheme lost money. Specifically, he pointed the finger at Infinox, a brokerage firm that put the entire plan in motion. For its part, a Bahamas-based branch of the company claimed it operated within the confines of the law and denied any wrongdoing. On the other hand, Singh insisted that he agreed to a deal with the firm to attract investors and claimed he didn't know at the time that the partnership was doomed to fail. Infinox UK has also distanced itself from Infinox Bahamas and said that the British-based branch had nothing to do with any agreement to market the investment scheme. Official documents suggest that Infinox Bahamas took the lead in determining where to invest the money. Still, its CEO asserted that Singh's actions were why those investments ultimately went south. A series of WhatsApp conversations also surfaced, revealing that victims were being told that their investments were making money. In reality, they'd been shedding profits since at least 2019. The individuals in charge of managing these accounts appeared eager to downplay any evidence that the investments were losing money. Eventually, the combined value of these assets dipped below £4 million. All the accounts were closed and the investors lost all their money. The evidence suggests that Infinox Bahamas played a central role in developing and marketing this corrupt investment plan. Nevertheless, Azhar's documentary series revealed details that emphasize Singh's involvement in defrauding investors. The bottom line is that there's clearly enough blame to go around, even if no one involved wants to accept their share of the responsibility. Amid all of the finger pointing at play in this story, Singh hopes he'll convince critics that he's just one of the victims. He continues to tell the world that his only error was signing a contract in good faith that resulted in a series of ill-advised trades and ultimately cost investors millions. In his mind, he was just a young entrepreneur trying to make a name for himself when he fell victim to a business that offered him a misleading contract. He also shared his desire to sit down with regulators at the FCA to address the organization's depiction of him as an unauthorized financial services provider. For what it's worth, the FCA still included its warning about Singh on its official website, even as he tried to shift the blame to Infinox. When they asked about the contents of Azhar's documentary, Singh opted to keep his mouth shut. So far, Singh has not been charged with the crime, although it's unclear whether the legal system will ever hand down justice for the perpetrators and victims. There's no doubt that the underlying scam will attract significant attention for years to come. Thankfully, folks like Jonathan are willing to discuss their staggering financial losses. Meanwhile, Azhar and other brave journalists continue digging up details and following the facts wherever they lead. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section who you find more annoying, money gurus or scam callers.